So this is what we're making. Our little balled ring with the disc cupped, patterned. So get your ring size. You can use an existing ring or a ring sizer. And you need the inside diameter. So 0 your calipers. Eighteen 18.76 millimeters. Write it down. And write the size down. And this is an R. Now, we're using 1 millimeter sterling for this, so it'll be 1976 times pi, which is 3.14. So that's 62.04, call it 62 millimeters, long to have an exact ring shank to solder to make a perfect size R. But we're going to have a little bit of fun and ball the ends on this wire, so we're going to add 15 millimeters. So 77 millimeters total for our wire. And we can just cut that with side cutters because, like I say, we're going to ball the ends up and the wire will shrink back to size. So this is half hard. Doesn't really matter. And this will be slightly adjustable, so it's not real critical. Within a millimeter is good. Now, I'm just going to cut 4 pieces of this. And then I'm going to put it on my soldering block, my charcoal block, and just solder the center. So you can see I've put 2 and 2 of these wires so they lean away from each other. You don't have to do it that way. As long as they touch in the middle is all that's critical. So mix up your flux, make sure any water on top is incorporated, and I'm just going to flux where the wires touch right here. And I'm using 3 millimeter long pieces of hard solder. And I just place them with my flux brush so that they're sitting right in that little groove between the wires. And I'm using a Smith's little torch, but you can use pretty much any torch for this. And we'll just dry out our flux. Push our wires together using the solder pick. And then I'll just place it with the pick once the metal comes up to temperature. Lovely, I can see it flow. So now we'll just quench that and pickle it. So here are our wires soldered together. Now at this point we're going to go around our ring mandrel, and if you have one that has the sizes on it, great. You can just start a couple of sizes smaller. So I'll start size P, and we just push that around. And I'll use the rawhide hammer to actually get it to size. Now, what I'm going to do is bring these wires this way so they bypass each other, so that I can go ahead and flatten them on the ring mandrel. And when you're checking for size, the line on your ring mandrel would be in the center of your ring shank, and that would make it the correct size. So that's good. Now what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, pointed nose, and I'm just going to bend these up. So that's what I want. I want them all sticking up in the air like that. And we go back on our ring mandrel, make sure it's still the right size. Now I want to ball the ends on these, and what I need to do is spread these out so they don't melt together. And we can open the ring back up a little bit at this point just to make sure that we don't melt the pieces next to each other. And then I'll hold this upside down on my third hand and melt the balls one at a time, holding my flame so that it only melts the one wire. Now this is difficult to do with the LPG air torch. So if you have a LPG oxy torch, you can use it. So we just, like I say, one at a time, pointing the flame so that it only touches the one that we're trying to melt. You can see I got 2 for the price of 1 on that one. So that's good. That's all I need. And we'll just quench this so we can handle it, and then we don't need to do anything else with that. So you can see what it looks like at the moment. And we'll push this back so that it's the right size, and go back around our ring mandrel to make sure it's round. So this is a piece of 0.7 millimeter thick sterling that I'm going to make a disc out of, and we need to anneal it because I'm going to put a pattern in it before I cut the disc. Now this, you can use any torch to anneal. Just bring it up to a dull red. It's usually better if you turn your light out. If you can see a dull red, fantastic, that means it's annealed. If not, if you can see, if you turn the metal a dark gray, it's also annealed at that point. So we'll just quench this to cool it off. And now we'll dry it off and put our pattern on it. So I have a textured hammer made by Frets, and I'm just going to use my bench block on my lap. And look at your piece as you're hammering and make sure that you've covered the whole area. Turn it around. Now, you don't have to texture this. You could just do a disc with a hole in it. But when I was thinking about doing this, I had texture in my brain, so we'll do that. I'll do that. You don't have to. So now I'm going to punch a 6 millimeter hole in the middle so that all of my balls can come up through there, and then we'll cut the outside size. Now, I would suggest that you put a little mark where you want the small hole, otherwise it's quite easy to get it slightly off. So I'm going to put that underneath until I can see my little spot inside the 6 millimeter hole. Once you get your metal so it's lined up, put your little punch in. So we take the metal out. So now I've put my piece of metal with the hole in it in a larger hole, and I'm using this to center it. And we go back with the correct size punch. And we have our disc with a hole in the middle. I'm going to slightly dish this by putting my washer in my doming block, and then I'm using a nylon punch so it doesn't put marks on my disc. That way my pattern stays the same. So that's good, that's what I want. So now we're going to fiddle all of these little balls up through the hole. Lovely. Now I'm going to spread them so that they actually hold this disc in place. But to do that, I'm going back on my ring mandrel so that I can set it at the correct size, and then when I bend them back, it won't make it too small. So I'm just going to use a burnisher. That's it. So now I'll pickle and then I'll tumble it to get it shiny. Alright, we're out of the pickle and ready to go in the tumbler. Alright, we're out of the tumbler and that's it.